Hi, folks. Sharon Meyer speaking. So, let's talk about comfort foods. So, can we eat comfort foods and also support our immunity? And the answer to that is absolutely yes. So, what are comfort foods? These are the foods that you gravitate towards for comfort. Every one of us has our own food that's very special to us. It might be something we remember from childhood, or it might just be something that sounds quite yummy and delicious, and we gravitate towards that. So when you're feeling a little tired or you're stressed, maybe you might be feeling a little blue, or you need some kind of reward. We reach for those comfort foods too as a form of pleasure, or when we're bored. Could it be that it's winter or the holidays, and many people have some emotional stuff going on with the holidays, and so reaching for comfort food might be a form of solace for them. And if you think about all of these things that I've just spoken about, like being tired or stressed, a little blue, need for reward, all of those things, bored, these are all emotions, right? And most of the time when we're reaching for comfort foods, it's really about our feelings. And when we are talking about comfort foods, we really are gravitating towards carbohydrates. And it's the carbs that we want or crave. But I think it's important to remember this. We are really hardwired to seek comfort and relief in moments of stress or need. So anything that challenges our state of balance is considered a stress. And then the stress triggers an automatic reaction. And that reaction is to either flee or alleviate that uncomfortable situation. So we dive into a giant bowl of pasta, alleviates that feeling, that immediate feeling. Or a rich, cheesy risotto, or a slice of bread, or pie, or whatever it is, or whatever food it is that you're gravitating to. Also, when we eat the carbohydrates, insulin is secreted. And when it's secreted, it boosts tryptophan. Tryptophan is synthesized into serotonin, and that's our calming, feel-good, happiness hormone. So that is why we feel great soon after eating the carbs. But when the levels of serotonin, those happy chemicals, drop, we feel even worse. So we reach for the carbs again, which stimulates the stress response, and the cycle continues. First, I want you to recognize the feeling. Am I tired? Am I bored? Am I stressed? And just gently acknowledge that feeling. Oh, this tired again, or boredom has popped up, or frustration, whatever that emotion is, just recognize it. Just sit with it for a while. Heaven knows this December is like no other. It's hard not to feel stress and anxiety when we see and hear all the media reports of rising COVID numbers. So while we may want to eat those comfort eats through the next 3 months, let's just take a breath and think about our immune system. I know, humbug-ish, but there are ways that we can do this. So let's commit to choosing healthy days. Mark it on your calendar. Today is going to be the healthy day. I am not going to be eating the See's candy that's being delivered to whichever department you're in. So you could choose any healthy days. It could be Monday to Friday, and the commitment could be to I'm helping my strong immune system. I'm supporting my strong immune system. We don't want to think about weakened immune systems. We want to think about how strong our immune system is. But I'm supporting and helping my immune system on those particular days. And that's a commitment to you. And choose treat days. So if you're choosing your healthy days, you choose your treat days. But when you choose the treat days, we also want to incorporate healthy foods on those treat days. So of your 3 meals, 2 are really healthy, and maybe the third meal is something that's a little treatish. Maybe it's a little higher in carbohydrates, maybe there's a bit of sugar in there. And watch the snacking. So choose the meals and watch the snacking. So what we're really doing is we're making a commitment to what we are consuming in that day. Am I eating 3 meals? And which of those meals are going to be the healthiest? So we want to make that commitment to ourselves. This takes effort and it takes some time, but it actually slows things down, and we're not just going to be stuffing our faces right through December. Okay, so let's think about this. Comfort foods, carbs. So if you choose pasta, you can sub some of the pasta with something like banza. Banza is a chickpea pasta. It's gluten-free, it has a lot of fiber in it, and it slows down the carbohydrate digestion. And it tastes pretty good, actually. So that could be a different pasta dish. If it's bread, sourdough is going to be better because it's already better than, say, whole grains, because the flour is fermented and we digest it better. My preference is sourdough gluten-free breads. Might not be yours, but the sourdough would be a better option. Remember, we're choosing our days with all of these carbs. Potatoes are definitely going to be better than pasta, and this could be white potatoes, but actually the red potatoes would be even better, and they taste pretty good. To me, there's no difference between the taste of that and a white potato. But the red potatoes have color, and therefore they have phytochemicals in them. So we're getting some phytonutrients that's going to support our immune system. Potatoes still have lots of vitamins in them and a lot of fiber in it. The skin has a lot of fiber in it. So that's going to be a better option than, say, pasta. Think about sweet potatoes. Aren't they the most yummiest root vegetable? I think they are delicious. But you can cook them in any way you like and then add some luscious olive oil to that, and that makes it really, really yummy. Or maybe you could do a combination of root vegetables. Root vegetables are carby, they're starchy, but again, they're high in nutrients, they have lots of fiber in them, and then if you add some fat to that, that's really delicious. So it's still satisfying that need for some comfort food. And let's not forget the cruciferous folks. They are so important. Remember, the cruciferous vegetables are things like broccoli and cauliflower and Brussels sprouts, some arugula, cabbage. All of those are phenomenal in supporting our liver and therefore supporting immunity too. Definitely include the berries, because the blue and the black are really, really important for our immune system. They have those flavones in them, the flavonols, which are super, super important. And you can use some of the frozen because they still have a very high phytochemical content to them. And you could add them to baking. So if you're making something or you're baking something, just think about, wow, what if I added some blueberries into it? There is a healthier version, and it's not going to take away from the taste, but it's going to support the immune system too. So let's talk about baking. Use some of the gluten-free flours. I like to use Uncle Bob's Red Mill, something like that. Bob's Red Mill, that's right. It's the 1-for-1. And again, the gluten-free flours is really about reducing inflammation. We know that gluten can promote inflammation. It can disrupt our gut bacteria, which again increases inflammation. And we know that the major side effects of COVID infection is inflammation. So it's not only in the lungs now, we know that there's inflammation in every other part of the body too. So using some of the gluten-free flours might be a better option. Now, if there is that one thing you're going to be baking for whatever holiday you're celebrating, and gluten-free hasn't worked that well for you, then that's the day you can use some of the normal flours. But be specific that it's that one day only and it's not through the whole of December again. You can also use almond or coconut flour. So if you're thinking, I don't know, maybe something like gingerbread. Look up a recipe using almond flour and making something with gingerbread, a gingerbread loaf or some gingerbread cookies or anything with gingerbread. Look up the almond flour or coconut online, and there are tons of them around. So then we talk about sugar. So we know that sugar suppresses the immune system, and it's got a whole host of other impacts on the body too, promotes a lot more inflammation as well. So we want to use less of the sugar. And most of the times when I look at recipes, there is far too much sugar in them, and it's far too sweet. So just half the load of sugar, even if you took a quarter of the amount out, that's going to be supportive of your body too. And if you're making things like the pecan pies, scrap the high fructose corn syrup or the corn syrup. Use some maple syrup too instead of the corn syrup. It's certainly going to be better for your body. Some of the other alternatives are going to be things like honey, maple syrup, stevia, monk fruit, erythritol, the allulose. Remember, we spoke about the allulose before. It's another kind of sweetener, but these are sugar sweeteners that you can use in some of your baking. So the next thing is, don't forget protein. We need those amino acids to support our immunity. Our antibodies are made from amino acids. Our muscles are stores of amino acids. We need to make sure that there's enough protein in our diet, especially if we're thinking about immune support. So anything from poultry, which is chicken, turkey, duck, and any kind of bird. The red meat is beef, pork, lamb, game, eggs, fish, shellfish, tofu. Think about something like this. Smoked salmon with some almond chive cream cheese. I love this cheese. It's made by a company called Kitehill. It's made from almonds, and it's absolutely yummy. And if you did something like some smoked salmon with that almond chive cream cheese and you wrapped it up in one of those cauliflower wraps, it's so yummy and so delicious, and it feels like a treat. So let's think about dairy. Now, I will definitely be choosing my cheese board and charcuterie day. I love cheese. But cheese can be very mucousy. Any dairy can be very mucousy or mucus-forming. So you can use some of the dairy alternatives too. And then again, just choose the day that you're going to be eating cheese. There are so many dairy alternatives on the market, and they are quite delicious. As I mentioned, that Kitehill almond chive cheese is really good. And then there's this website that you can check out. So if you've got your pens and paper handy, it's called onegreenplanet.org/vegan recipes, and it's /cheeses that will knock your socks off. So it's onegreenplanet.org, and you're looking for vegan recipes and 10 vegan cheeses that will knock your socks off. Yummy. They are really good. They are surprisingly good. And for someone like me who really loves cheese, I am quite surprised that they are as good as they are. So maybe to that cheese board you can add some crudités. So some vegetables. I like using broccoli and cauliflower. But here's what I do with them. I break them into their little florets, small dainty morsels, and I drop them into a pot of boiling broth, just for about 2 minutes, and then immediately put them into some cold water. I might even add a cube of ice to that cold water because I want to stop them from cooking. And then they are so much better than just boring old raw broccoli and cauliflower. And then you can dip them into anything. You can make a dip like a ranch dressing. You could take some ranch dressing. You can combine that with some hummus or some cottage cheese. It's really a good combination. And then you can do that smoked salmon with chive and cream cheese. You can chop that up really finely with some lemon juice. Blend that together. Those vegetables dipped in that are really good. And then guac. Guac is delicious. You can make your own, or otherwise you can just add a few things to some board guac to pep it up a bit. I like to add a little bit of hot sauce to it. And now let's talk about olive oil. You can add it to everything. So even if you're doing something like the guac, I always put some olive oil in that because it just gives that a little bit of a boost too. But remember, olive oil has 30 different phytochemicals. So we want to add those to the food. Not only does it taste good, but it's really beneficial for our immune system. And don't forget to eat the olives. Put that on your cheese board too. They're so yummy, and they're really good snacks to have during the day. Chocolate, anything over 70% is great because it's got all the phytochemicals in those too. So you can incorporate that into your baking or add it to your snacking too. You could add it to a chili. If you're making a chili, add some chocolate to that too because it gives it that rich flavor, and then you've got those phytochemicals too. Don't forget the spices. Cinnamon, add some cinnamon to hot drinks. Talking about chocolate, you could maybe do something like you can warm up some coconut milk and you can add a cinnamon stick to that, maybe crack a cardamom pod if you've got one. You can sweeten it with a little bit of honey, and then you can add some grated chocolate and maybe a few chili flakes. So we're thinking about warming up the coconut milk. You can add a cinnamon stick to it. Take that cardamom pod, crack it open, put that in the hot coconut milk, sweeten it with a bit of honey, some chocolate, and some chili flakes. Really, really immune supportive, and it feels luscious and delicious. Green tea, of course, has many phytochemicals. The ECG is so important. That's the phytochemical that is in the green tea, and it's really good for reducing inflammation. So even if you're not a green tea drinker, you can still add the tea to foods, and you'll not taste it. So what you could do is you could steep a bag of green tea in some hot water, and you can cool it down, and then you can add it to things like stews or soups. You won't even taste it, but you're getting the benefits of that ECGC. And mushrooms, shiitake, reishi, a combination of all the mushrooms. They really are hugely beneficial to the immune system. You can add them to stir fries, you can add them to soup, to rice, to pasta, to frittatas. Chop them up and just add them into foods. They are so good and really, really, as I say, so beneficial. So those are the things that we can do with some of our comfort foods. It's just about thinking about this. So remember, my challenge to you is to commit to healthy days and commit to treat days. Think about that. Mark them up in your calendar. It's fascinating what happens when you think about those sort of things. So next week, we'll talk a little bit more about recipes for the holidays. So folks, take care of yourselves and keep healthy.